An alien empire spanning 300 star systems collapsed in just 6 days, not from war, not from invasion, from something worse. A virus that turned their own minds against them. Their advanced technology failed. Their perfect unity became their greatest weakness. And when they were on the edge of extinction, they didn't call their own kind for help. They called humanity. Because we already survived the apocalypse. The transmission reached Earth Station Olympus at 400 hours, and Dr. Sienna Rains knew immediately that something had shattered the Vraxi collective. No preamble, no diplomatic protocols, just raw footage. Crystalline spires collapsing as thousands of infected Vraxi tore through their own cities, their bioluminescent skin flickering between violet and sickly green. Or the elegant beings who had once offered humanity membership in their galactic council now clawed at each other with geometric precision, their neural networks corrupted into something that hungered and spread. 47 colony worlds in 6 days, Ambassador Thexvar transmitted, its voice modulator struggling with what sounded like fear. Our medical technology cannot comprehend it. Our quarantine protocols accelerate the infection. We are dying, Dr. Rains, and we require the expertise of survivors. Sienna felt the old scars on her forearm ache. 15 years since the Memphis outbreak. 15 years since she had watched her sister turn in a Level 4 containment facility and learned that sometimes mercy meant impossible choices. You need humanity because we have practice at fighting ourselves, she said quietly. But the Vraxi Empire spanned 300 star systems. They had discovered faster-than-light travel when humans were still painting on cave walls. Their cities floated in gas-giant atmospheres. Their ships could disassemble asteroids for fuel. Their collective intelligence networks made them nearly immortal. And now something that looked like rabies mixed with cellular corruption was eating them alive from the inside. Captain Devin Hendricks stood in the war room aboard the human expeditionary vessel Lazarus, studying holographic projections of infected Vraxi population centers. They share everything, he said, tracing the infection patterns. Information, consciousness, biological resources. It makes them brilliant, but every connection is a transmission vector. Their greatest strength is their critical vulnerability, Sienna agreed. She pulled up her research on the Memphis pathogen, the one that had killed 40,000 people before her team cracked the cellular mechanism, the one that had taken her sister. They do not understand isolation. We do. The Vraxi had already lost 60 billion citizens. Their automated defense systems were incinerating entire habitats to stop the spread, but the infected adapted, learned, coordinated through the same neural networks that had once made the Vraxi unstoppable. Every ship they sent to quarantine zones became a new vector. Every research facility that studied the pathogen became ground zero for exponential growth. Humans understood something the Vraxi could not accept. Sometimes you had to cut away parts of yourself to survive. The Lazarus carried 200 medical specialists, containment engineers, and survivors of Earth's biological warfare era. They arrived at Vraxi Prime to find a civilization in freefall. Orbital platforms crawled with infected. Ships drifted dead in space, their crews transformed into something that still remembered how to operate weapons systems. Our protocols demand we preserve consciousness, Thexvar explained as they toured the last functioning research center. Every Vraxi mind is sacred, connected to our collective inheritance. To sever those connections, to destroy infected individuals, it violates our foundational principles. Sienna watched through reinforced glass as infected Vraxi attacked containment barriers with disturbing intelligence. They were not mindless. They were corrupted, rewritten, turned into something that wore familiar faces while serving an alien purpose. She thought of her sister, and of the moment she had authorized the purge. You are asking us to do what you cannot, she said, to make the choices that will haunt us. Yes, the ambassador replied simply, because you already carry those scars. The plan was brutal in its simplicity. Humanity would implement a network partition protocol, severing the Vraxi consciousness sharing systems sector by sector. They would create isolation zones using human psychological warfare techniques, exploiting the infected's reliance on networked intelligence. Where the Vraxi saw preservation, humans saw triage. Where the Vraxi hesitated, humans would cut. This will fragment your civilization, Captain Hendricks warned the High Collective. Millions of Vraxi will be isolated from the network, possibly permanently. Your culture may never recover. Our culture will certainly end if we do nothing, came the response. The purge began at 1,800 hours across 40 systems simultaneously. Human teams isolated infected zones, deployed electromagnetic barriers that the Vraxi technology had been too elegant to consider, and systematically dismantled the neural relays that connected their cities. It was savage. It was effective. The infection, deprived of its transmission network, began to collapse. But the cost carved itself into Sienna's memory. She watched Vraxi families separated by barriers, their bioluminescence dimming as consciousness links were severed. She authorized the destruction of 17 orbital habitats because containment had failed. She made decisions the Vraxi could not, and she understood that humanity had been chosen not for their brilliance, but for their willingness to bear terrible necessities. 72 hours after the purge began, the infection rates dropped below critical thresholds. Humanity had saved the Vraxi Collective by nearly destroying it. Ambassador Thex Var met Sienna in the observation deck as the Lazarus prepared to depart. You have preserved our species at the cost of our unity. We will remember this debt. Sienna looked out at the fractured empire, at the dark zones where consciousness networks would never reconnect, at the price of survival written in isolation and loss. We always knew, she said quietly, that sometimes the only way to save something is to break it first.